In my Tesla report, I often use the word consumer, consumption, consumers buy this, consumers buy that. I'm going to stop using that because consumption and consumerism is not a good thing for our lives. Consumerism is a social and economic ideology that emphasizes the importance of consumption as a way of life. In a consumerist society, the focus is on acquiring goods and services, often with little regard for their actual value or necessity. While consumerism may seem harmless or even desirable, there are many reasons to critique it as a way of life. First and foremost, it's important to recognize that human beings are not just consumers. You are more than a consumer. You are human being with relationship. You're a spiritual being. We are multifaceted individuals with a wide range of needs and desires, not all of which can be bought on stores. Our lives are enriched by experiences, relationships, and personal growth, none of which can be purchased at a store. None of which can be purchased at a store. In fact, consumerism can actually be detrimental to our well-being. When we focus too much on material possessions, we may lose sight of the most important things that truly matter in our lives. We may become more stressed, more anxious, more unhappy as we struggle to keep up with the latest trends and acquire more and more stuff. Moreover, consumerism is not sustainable in the long term. The constant production and consumption of goods and services puts a strain on the environment, leading to pollution, deforestation, and climate change. As resources become scarcer and the effects of climate change become more pronounced, it's clear that we need to shift away from a culture of consumerism if we want to ensure a livable planet for future generations. There are also social implications for consumerism. In a society that values consumption above all else, we may become more isolated from one another, focusing on our individual needs only and desires, rather than the needs of the community, the needs of the person in front of you. This can lead to breakdown of social cohesion and the lack of empathy and understanding among other different groups. This is why I wanted to make this recording and share with you that consumers is not a good thing, and I don't want to use that anymore. Our bigger cities like New York, Seoul, Paris, Hong Kong, London are built all on consumerist society, and there is an important thing like the grace of God that you cannot buy on stores, no matter how consumerist it is. Remember Philip's story? When Philip, one of the 7 deacons in Acts, arrived to Samaria, he came across a practitioner of magic named Simon. Simon saw the miracles that God wrought through Philip and was impressed. He was even more impressed with John and Peter, who came from Jerusalem and laid hands on Samaritans who received the Holy Spirit. When Simon, this magician, saw this power, he wanted to purchase it like a consumerist. Give this authority to me as well, so that everyone on whom I lay my hands may receive the Holy Spirit. Direct and succinct, Peter answered, saying, May your silver perish with you, because you thought you could obtain the gift of God with money. You cannot. You have no part or partition in this matter, for your heart is not right before God. What a response. You can't buy it. You can't have it with money. Money cannot buy everything. The fundamental tenet of Christianity is that you cannot buy God's grace because it is too costly. Here Christianity crushes the spirit of consumerism. The moment you think you can purchase grace or barter for it, no matter the currency or the perceived exchange rate, you walk on the road that leads to perdition. Bankrupt people don't have purchasing power. As St. John says to the Laodiceans who thought they were faring well, you are naked, poor, and blind. Remember that. Hope, however, exists because even though we cannot purchase or merit God's favor, there is one who has merited it for us. To use the word of Peter, we were not purchased with gold or silver, but with the precious blood of Christ, a lamb without blemish or defect. When consumerism understands this point, it falls on its knees, helpless and powerless, and kneels before God. Consumerism will be consumed. This fall starts with the confession of beggar, and it is sweet music to the ears of because we receive what we need through the merit of Christ. Now, consumerism, on the other hand, is an audio mirage, a siren's call. It says we can find joy by acquiring, but at the end we were dashed onto the rock of buyer's remorse, eschatologically charged. Gold and silver perish, and what it purchase spoils just as fast. Hence, Christianity says God saves by grace alone through faith. So what can we do to move away from consumerism and towards a more balanced way of life? One approach is to focus on experiences rather than things. Remember, focus on experiences rather than things. This might mean spending more time with loved ones, traveling to new places, or pursuing hobbies and interests that bring us joy and fulfillment. Another approach is to be more mindful about our consumption habits. Before making a purchase, we can ask ourselves whether we really need it, whether we really need the item in question, and whether it aligns with our values and goals. We can also look for ways to reduce our consumption, such as buying second-hand or repairing items instead of buying new ones. Ultimately, it is up to each of us to decide what kind of life we want to lead. While consumerism may offer a temporary sense of satisfaction, it's important to recognize that there is more to life than just acquiring things and buying more and more. By prioritizing experiences, relationships, and personal growth, we can build a more fulfillment and sustainable way of life, one that truly reflects our values and aspirations. This is why I said this depends on your life. My life's number one value is relationship with God. You know, I'm a Christian. At the end of my messages about Tesla reporting, I always say, God bless you, have a wonderful day. I talk about my life sometimes, our religious feasts that we have, Christmas or Easter, the resurrection of Christ. This is why I wanted to share with you. You know, the reason I talk about these things is we spend time with each other. Like every day, many of you watch these videos. You spend time, and I feel obligated that the values that I give you should be sustainable. And then I'm thinking that in this Tesla or automotive report, a lot of times we say consumers want this, consumers don't want this, consumers. And I will all of a sudden realize, hey, we're not consumers. We're human beings. I am a human being. I want relationships. I have desires. I have dreams. We're not consumers. And the things that make me really happy, and probably you too, you can't buy them necessarily on store. And you cannot have this self-satisfaction just buying more and more, and then having the buyer's remorse, and then returning them, or just leaving there. So my point is, in this consumerism, which is a social and rather economic ideology that emphasizes the importance of consumption as a way of life, is detrimental to your life and my life, is detrimental to our society, is a wrong ideology, is a failing ideology, and it's not a sustainable way of life. It will perish, and those who follow it. So just wanted to share these things with you, friends. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think about are you a consumer or are you a human being? If you're a human being, we have a journey together in this life as a fellow human being. This is very important, especially in these days of AI, in these days of chat GPT or open society, open AI and those kind of things. It's important, friends. This is Armen Harayan from TorqueNews.com. Please subscribe to our channel and let me know if you would like to hear more messages, moral messages like this about the way we live our life. Because our life is not only about Tesla, cars, or consumption. We have desires, feelings, we need relationships, we need God, we need one another. God bless you, have a great day, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. See you soon in our next report.